Thank you very much, Professor Hornidge, for agreeing to have an interview with us. Could you please introduce yourself first and explain how your experience with Crossroads Asia Network inform your current work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my name is Anna-Katharina Hornidge. I am working for the Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Ecology, where I head the social science department and the research group of development and knowledge sociology. My chair position is with the Institute of Sociology of the University of Bremen, and I previously was involved and still am actually involved in the Crossroads Asia network. I was scientifically coordinating it for a while. So yeah, if you ask me how much some of the discussions within the network influence my work until today, there is of course the conceptual aspect of it. I joined Crossroads Asia with a social constructivist, sociologically inspired perspective basically, and we had many discussions on the multidimensionality of space, on the role of different mobilities, different type of mobilities in constructing space and also in making sense and constructing meaning, actually making sense of reality. And that of course also inspires my thinking until today and my work until today. I originally studied area studies, Southeast Asian studies in fact, and now with the tropical focus of my institute have moved back basically to Southeast Asia. So we just last week started a project that I had brought in with a partner from University of Bremen, financed through the DFG, but looking at epistemic mobilities. So here you can already see here basically the traces of Crossroads Asia. So epistemic mobilities and how different practices and policies of how to deal with sea level change actually travel from global to regional levels to local levels in Jakarta, Singapore and Manila. But also back from there in adapted manners back to the regional and global platforms of discussion. So mobility is and flows, dynamisms are a conceptual aspect or also thematic aspect of Crossroads Asia that influences my work until today very much. On the methodological level, well, the ethnographic methodology of following not an innovation like we did in the Uzbekistan project here at CEF, but a figuration, so an interdependence between different actors, for example, as we followed and tried to trace within the Crossroads Asia, is a methodological approach that we also employ at the Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Ecology. I mean, within my working group, the Development and Knowledge Sociology group. It is relevant, especially also in the marine and coastal realm, because I mean, in the second phase of Crossroads Asia, we put mobilities, immobilities, and borders and boundaries into sort of the centers and identified them as concepts to guide the discussions, to also structure discussions around them. And if you think of coasts very much take on the role of boundaries, actually, but also as of zones of interaction. In many ways, ecologically speaking, but also for human life, for purposes of social organization. 2/3 of the world population live along coastlines. Along coastlines, we have all ports located, all major ports are located along coastlines, obviously. Coastlines are also the zones that are especially hit by the anthropogenic forces that we are encountering more and more so. Not only speaking here of sea level change, but all other effects of environmental changes and the social, socio-political, socio-cultural change processes that are interlinked and encouraged by or are encouraging environmental process of change. And we are now in a time where migratory flows keep the whole planet actually busy. and many of these migratory flows cross coastlines. They actually, as soon as migrants arrive on the other side of the ocean, they give the developments from the continent where they come from, the countries where they come from, a voice, a global voice. So you can here see that some of the discussions from Crossroads Asia very much also influence the thinking within the marine tropical context that we now operate within. Additionally to the conceptual, methodological and thematic aspects, I also must say that of course this aspect of having been socialized over a longer period of time into an interdisciplinary modus of conducting research and an international modus of conducting research is something that that has shaped me, has shaped my personality as a researcher and also as a science manager in a way. So this is obviously also within this system of scientific production a large part of our work, to spend time with developing concepts that are relevant also to donor agencies and that capture some of the pressing research problems and questions, bring together networks of researchers and their competences, and wrap all of these aspects together in ways that fruitful projects can be developed. So these are aspects that I have not only learned within Crossroads Asia, but also have learned and practiced within Crossroads Asia, and I'm happy to employ them further, basically.
Thank you. And perhaps this question relates to your last point. Could you explain how can area studies help overcome epistemic hegemonies? We were discussing during the conference about the positionality of knowledge, how it is produced, by who. So could you elaborate on this question more?
Well, I think that is a question with or the answer to this question, I think, falls on two sides of the coin. On the one side, area studies are very strong in giving other epistemologies a voice and a platform where these voices can be voiced, can be heard as well. At the same time, of course, by identifying one epistemology and differentiating it to another, what we do is actually othering, And by othering, we immediately create a distance, and that distance makes domination possible. So there's also that element, and I think area studies have to be very well aware of it, and they are. In my reading, it is similar also to some of the challenges that anthropology, for example, is dealing with, or anthropologically inspired sociology. So that's where I see myself also very much embedded into, additionally to area studies, of course. These are our partly colonial pasts, but also not simply, but to be taken seriously, challenges of the type of research we do. We research social organization, patterns of social organization, everyday practices, etc., of other people, of subjects, of other people. And by doing this, have to be very conscious of the fact whether these other people become research objects or subjects, and together with these other people also, of course, their epistemologies. So we live in a science system where certain epistemologies are heard substantially more than others globally. And as said, I think a big benefit and a big plus of area studies is that they are enabling epistemologies that are usually not necessarily heard as much to voice themselves more so, and also maybe emancipate themselves to some degree from the chains that structure their thinking. But at the same time, we of course are also to some degree chained. and restricted in our thinking and in our practices. So.
Thank you very much. And putting this interview into the context of the conference, how do you envision the future of area studies, or futures of area studies?
The futures of area studies. Well, to be honest, I think, you have some universities in Germany, like for example Bayreuth, that have managed to decide on one regional focus and have very consciously made sure that within the denominations of many of the chair positions that are being announced, this regional focus is always sought for, basically. And what that means is that you have an area studies department, but you also have within sociology, within anthropology, within many political sciences, for instance, many other departments, you have expertise on a particular region, on the same region as you have the area studies expertise in place as well. And that, of course, creates a perfect scenario, in my view, because you can then have the linking of area studies and of basically you can have the best of all worlds. You can have the strengths of different disciplines, you can have the strengths of area studies. You can assure that students who study, for instance, sociology, but want to work on Southeast Asia later on, that they learn one of the languages necessary to be mobile in Southeast Asia, be able to interact. You can assure that areanists go through their areanist training, which means language training, which means cultural and societal the development, the study of the history and the present of the societies at hand. But at the same time, you can also link and make them basically participate in theoretical and methodological seminars that are taught and are relevant for many other students who might work on a different region. So that you immediately create also a platform for a lot of interaction, for a lot of also interdisciplinary exchange. And if I just think of the marine sciences, the field that I'm working within now, what is interesting within the marine sciences is that you have a regional focus, just as in area studies, the marine. It's a world region, or many world regions actually. But that focus on this region, but also on, of course, the resources within that region, creates a boundary object actually, which channels and structures a lot of the interdisciplinarity at hand. So you have fishery biologists, biogeochemists, and sedimentologists, sociologists, and geographers working all along each other, and they are inspired to actually discuss with each other, because what they focus on in one way or another contributes to the same area, to the same space, if you want to say it like this, not to say territory, but also to the same criteria and aspects that you find within that space, be it ecological aspects or social aspects, cultural aspects. And I think that creates a very fertile way of channeling also interdisciplinarity, and is something that we should consider to do a lot more within universities, not just within area studies departments. That's too small. That's not giving credit to the areas to the degree that credit should be given to. But I think we can overcome our challenges here by really saying, okay, a certain university focuses on a particular world region, and from there then of course studies the mobilities, etc., mobilities that go into that region, out of that region, all the interconnections, etc. But the strengths, the analytical strength, the language expertise, etc., that is required is brought together, and is brought together also the conceptual and methodological strengths by having people with these type of expertise, also area studies expertise, basically within all other departments as well. No? So basically sociologists who also speak, I don't know, Chinese or no, and know the history and know the contemporary, study the society of China, for example, rather than have at one university within the sociology department someone who works on Latin America. Then you have an area studies department on Asia, and within political sciences you have someone working on Russia. I mean, that's. I think we can do better than that, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.